For people that maybe haven't heard your music before, do you want to maybe give us a little bit of background on yourself, how you got into music, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Saloni. I'm a British Asian artist. I was born and brought up in the UK, but my ethnic roots come from India. My parents are from India. So I grew up listening to a lot of Indian music, but also Western music growing up here. And I began to, like, growing up, I didn't really know where my identity sat. I kind of sat with like just the Bollywood and Tollywood and stuff, or just like the Western side. And only recently, ever since I started releasing like the crossover, have I sort of felt like I've represented my identity. So the music I make is a mix of South Asian languages on top of Western pop and R&B beats. I can sing in 10 different South Asian languages, so I aim to bring all of these languages into my original music.
For sure. And I don't want to gloss over that little stat there because it was something that I wanted to talk about, like 10 different languages. And I think I saw in your Into Your Nation network as well, it was like it's 10 and then one extra if you're including English as well. So it's like, it's very impressive.
Thank
So
you.
how has that happened? Like, did you already know all of these 10 languages or is it just you're like, I want to be able to sing in like so many different languages to engage in different cultures, that sort of thing? Like, how did you get to this point?
So I'll begin with demything one thing. I can't actually speak or understand these 10 different languages. I can sing in them. And I think many people don't understand that. But when it comes to music, I really feel, and people that are in music understand this, but outside of it, sometimes it kind of gets glossed over a bit, that music really has no language. And I mean, as a listener, I think people relate to that because you're listening to like Spanish music, Afro music without even understanding what it means. And it kind of comes into that same concept when you're singing it as an artist. So I grew up kind of having a touch on different languages. So when it comes to, let's say, the South Asian side, Hindi I kind of brought up just by like watching TV. My parents used to watch like soap operas, so I'd kind of get it from there, and like movies and stuff. Telugu was my like mother tongue, and Tamil was something I learned while I grew up singing because my teacher was Tamil. She liked Carnatic music. So those were the three key languages I sort of grew up with. And then as I went into university and everything, Punjabi became quite a prominent one just because of the music that was around me. Not even at university, to be fair, even like growing up past like secondary school sort of thing. So those four South Asian languages was stuff I was familiar with already. And with the other languages, I think I just thought, you know what, South Asia is so like it's such a beautiful part of the world. It has so many different like dialects, so many different languages. And I listened to the music, but I never like put understood how to like sing in them. But I thought I can already grasp these four different languages. Surely I can like push myself to get the other ones as well. And what I realized is when you know one part of when you know one part of the languages, you kind of grasp the other ones. For example, I grasped Punjabi because I knew Hindi already, and then like all the North languages like Gujarati, Marathi, like you kind of grasp it a bit. And same goes for the South. Like I knew Tamil and Telugu, so grasping Kannada and Malayalam was like in that territory. So yeah, I mean, I just love the beauty of it, and I just feel like it needs to be shown out a bit more. And I like tasked myself with a challenge back when I took my gap year, and it was around the COVID time as well, where I was like, you know what, let me see if I can get 10 languages onto one song, and that's where it began.
Obviously, you've now got that like in your roster as well. You've got like a portfolio now of all these songs and all these examples of you singing it. And I think as well, it seems like each language that you've done, it seems that people are engaging with it as if you were native to that language as well, which must imply that you're doing a good job of it. So keep it up.
No, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I think I saw it the most when with the most well, not the release that happened recently, but the one before that with Bilal Shahid Nee Gundellounna, where I put in Bangla in it alongside my mother tongue Telugu. I think that's where I saw it the most, where people thought I was Bangladeshi, and I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw it quite a lot with the recent release.
Focusing on that release in particular, how did that collaboration come about? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think is that maybe your best performing song to date?
Yep, best performing song today, a million views on YouTube and a few million on social media. Yeah, definitely the best one. And like way beyond both of our expectations actually. And we're very pleased to see. I think the way the audience took it just like is just so heartwarming, meant so much to us, and it's just amazing. But yeah,
Sure.
that collaboration sort of came about. We met at a launch party, at another artist launch event for their album, and I recognized him briefly because on Spotify when you go through your like fans also like sort of category, he was in my one, so I knew of him and I'd heard some of his music before, and then someone introduced us at the event, and he was like, oh, I'll check your music out once I get back. And so we messaged each other on socials after, and then in the new year we were just like, you know what, let's get some music together, come into the studio, and it just kind of went from there.
I mean, it's cool as well with him. Obviously, he's got that kind of production aspect to things as well. That he seems to be like proper going down that route more recently, rather than just singing. So I'm sure that came in to use as well.
Yeah.
But like you say, so you weren't expecting it to take off as much as it did then.
No, neither of us. I think we were both very pleasantly surprised.
I mean, other stuff that you've done recently as well. I mean, literally started the year off by performing at Wembley. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Again, a crazy moment that I didn't think would happen so soon. I opened for a well-known producer from India called DSP. And it was crazy because his music I basically grew up listening to, because it's a lot of his music is from like the he produced a lot for like the Tollywood, the Telugu music movie scene. And growing up, I watched a lot of Telugu movies, and to then find out I'm gonna like open for him, that was huge. Very nerve-wracking to begin with, obviously going on like such a big stage in front of like 10,000 people in an arena, but the second I went on stage, all those nerves went, and it was just like, I'm living my dream right now, performing in front of so many people. And it was actually on my vision board at the beginning of 2023. I made like a vision board of wanting to perform at an arena, and it's crazy that it happened in 2024.
What advice would you give to someone? Because I'm just thinking now, if I was an artist listening to this, the idea of performing at Wembley is literally like, I imagine a lot of people's dream come true. So what advice would you have for someone as someone that has actually gone and it's gone from being a dream to actually a reality?
I think the biggest thing is just honing in on your craft, and like just I feel like many people say it, but it really is just determination and just keep going, consistency. Because and the fact you'll face loads of hurdles, that's without a doubt. Like no, nothing will come like easy. If it's easy, it's not worth having, basically. So you will have the hurdles, and just literally just know that there will be something good waiting for you at the end, or like not even at the end, just throughout the path. You, as long once you get through that hurdle, something will be waiting for you. And I think that's still something. Forget about giving this advice to like someone that's just upcoming. Like I'm still upcoming, and I feel this for myself. And me saying this to you right now, like for anyone else hearing, I'm in my head, I'm thinking I need to be saying this to myself as well, because it is very easy for me, for anyone to just think, oh, what am I doing like worth it right now? Like it's a lot of like, because it's in a way you're kind of putting on your own business, you're like bringing yourself up, if you're independent, that is. And it's just like it's a lot to take on. So I think always reminding yourself that it, as long as you enjoy what you're doing and you have the motivation, determination, sort of get over it, get over any hurdle, just keep going. And like it will the hard work will come into life ASAP.
And I feel like you're probably a good example of that as well, given that I think I saw on your socials that you've been at uni for the past couple of years, right? It's only recently that you've graduated. So the majority of your discography that we're aware of was actually released alongside you studying. So how, and again, you've just talked about being independent as well, but how was it obviously balancing that, the difference between obviously having to put all the effort into studying, but then also creating, I think, because you've created like quite literally Saloni, like a name for yourself, you know what I mean? Like people know who you are, and the fact you've done that during uni is, again, very impressive. So like, how did you manage to do that?
I can't put it in more than a simple way than I just had the passion for it, and I just really loved doing what I did. And just that drive of wanting to be able to share what I love to do with everyone around. It was tough, and it still is quite tough, because now I've gone into full-time role, and like that's actually when I used to think, oh, if I'm able to do it through uni, I'm gonna be fine for the rest of my life. But it only gets harder as you get older, because it's like more responsibilities, and it's just, I think I wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't enjoy what I'm doing. So I think that's just a big part. I enjoyed what I was doing, and I knew, and at the same time, I did enjoy my studies as well, because I think I've always been quite an academic driven person. So that way, I was just doing two things that I just thought I could try and manage together. It was tough. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but it's just I guess I just determined to try and get through it.
Definitely, and obviously now this is your first release of 2024. So without you, another collaboration with Bilal as well.
Yeah.
So how did this particular release come about?
So this one was obviously off the back of Nee Gundellounna. Obviously, we both loved working together, and we were like, we need to get more stuff out. And now I'm working with Bilal quite regularly to, not just this release, but future releases as well, to get him on the production side, because I've loved the way he's, produced these songs, and he has his touch with the production. So it's been great working with him. And yeah, this song actually wasn't one I wrote. This was the first ever song that someone else had written and kind of pitched it to me and been like, I think your voice would sound amazing on this. Give it a shot. And it did take me a lot of like courage to then think that's okay, because this whole time I'd been like, okay, I want to write my own stuff. I want to like, put stuff out that I've written myself. But I think this was that step where it was like, you know what, I don't always have to write things myself. Sometimes a song will come to you that sounds really good with your voice, and just, if have a sing along. If it works, it works. If not, then just write something else after. And this one Bilal sort of like gave to me. He was like, this is a really good song, I think it would suit you. And I really did like it, and I think it's brought out a different side of my vocals that maybe I wouldn't have explored too much. We sort of dipped into it when we did Nee Gundellounna, but I've not done it more than that before. And whereas this like takes out more of that, the Bollywood melodic sort of melodies to it. And that's sort of how we kind of went with, okay, I'm going to release this as one of my songs.
And I would agree as well that I don't think there should necessarily be a pressure to have everything 100% yourself written. I think the main thing is, like you say, have a listen to it. If it works, do it. I think the main thing is, if it doesn't work, then not sticking with it and then putting out anyway, purely for the sake of like, oh, this is what's trending right now, or that sort of thing. And was it always the idea that you'd put this out around Valentine's Day, or was that just a happy coincidence?
Well, initially it wasn't the plan, but by the time we'd finished it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to release it in the new year. May as well wait till Valentine's. And I initially wanted to release it just before Valentine's to sort of hit that Valentine's sort of like, so people can hear it and use it on Valentine's Day. But then going back to the song and realizing actually it's not a love song, it's a heartbreak song. So what we did, I don't know if the audience have realized this yet, but it was like we teased the lovey-dovey side of it first, which was the first verse of it, which makes it sound like a love song. So it works for Valentine's Day, and people can use it on Valentine's Day and so on. But when the song released 2 days after Valentine's, you can hear that it's actually a heartbreak song. So now people are like, oh, okay, it's in the anti-Valentine's. I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently anti-Valentine's is a thing. So now people can use it as anti-Valentine's, which is what it is. It's, you were in love with someone and then they moved on, and now you're kind of getting through that, but you're like cherishing the love that you had with this person before, and respecting that they've moved on, sort of thing.
And I think the music video really also brings that like storyline to life as well. Comparing it to some of your other music videos, was that one of the first times that you've actually done like a bit of like proper acting as well? like how did you find that?
Yeah, it was my first like deep storyline video. I think when we first finished this song and we listened to it, after it was all done, I was like, I fully see a Bollywood sort of music video to this. And I was trying to think of different ways to sort of put it together. And I had these different ideas, or like kind of put it on paper. And then I spoke to my videographer and I was like, what do you think about all of this? And we were like, oh, like it just pieced together. And I don't think I like took it in as much until I actually watched the music video when it released. Once everything was like, all the feedback had gone, and because when you're in the process of getting something out, you're just constantly thinking about, okay, what feedback am I going to give here? What am I going to like? Just how am I going to make it a good piece? So you don't actually cherish it as much. And then once it's all like finalized and you're seeing it the day of release, I feel like you soak it all in. And I was like, I watched it with everyone when it premiered at 6 p.m. I was watching it and I was like, wow, we really did this. It was like, it really grasped all the emotions, made me feel like I was in a bit of a movie. And it was nice acting as well. I guess I've never really done that before. And not bad. I thought I would look terrible, like, because I'm not an experienced actor whatsoever, but it didn't seem bad in the music video. It looked like I could do it decently.
No, I agreed. I think you definitely like captured the whole essence of what you were singing about as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask as well, the like monologue at the beginning, was that always planned to be in there or was that like a later addition?
That was literally after we shot the music video. So we got so much content on the day of the shoot. And we were getting all this footage, but the videographer was telling me like he doesn't really understand how to put it together. Like it's great, we've got all this content and it's amazing, and we've got the storyline, but it just looks a bit confusing because like you'll put it together, but people don't know the context of it, especially for someone that doesn't understand the lyrics. And so then I thought, you know what, how about if we took like what if I did like a bit of a monologue to kind of explain what the situation was, and then we can use some of the story snippets so it gives some context. And then the videographer gave me an idea saying, you know, the English lyrics that you wrote for the song, why don't we use that as part of the monologue? And I was like, okay, that's a good idea, but it doesn't make sense to completely do that. So then what I did was took that as inspiration and then kind of built around it to then make a few lines that gave it context but still made it sound a bit like a poem.
No, and I think it worked well as well, especially with the whole kind of Bollywood-esque theme that was going on. It all did come together very nice, I think. I mean, obviously, I haven't
Thank
seen
you.
like what it was like before when you just had the footage by itself, but it did seem like a bit of like a mini movie in
Yeah.
itself. So, well, we're gonna give it a play in a bit, but before we do that, just wanted to ask like, what's next for you then? Obviously, this is your first release of the new year.
Mhm.
What's the rest of 2024 got in store for you?
Well, I'm working on a body of work, so we'll hopefully get an EP out later this year. Although it's not confirmed, but I would like to think that I'll get that out, depending on how things work out on my schedule. But some collaborations in play, and yeah, just definitely more music for the rest of the year to come.
Sweet. And if people want to keep up to date with your latest releases, etc., where's the best place for them to find you?
Best place is social media, so you can find me on Instagram as Saloni underscore music, Saloni underscore music. TikTok is Saloni.music, and Facebook and YouTube is Saloni Music. And if you don't want any of those and you want to sign up to my mailing list where you'll get like exclusives and first sneak peeks of everything, just pop onto my website at www.salonimusic.com and sign up.
Well, we're going to give Without You a play now. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me and supporting me.